Welcome back to Learning Guitar with Demoz School of Music. Your teacher is Tony Doss, celebrated guitarist and professional musician with 2 decades of experience. In case you missed the previous episode on using a guitar pick and the 4-note exercise, please navigate and watch it now.
Hi, my name is Tony Doss from Demoz School of Music. Welcome back to another episode of our course on how to play guitar for beginners. Today we're going to get into some actual fun playing. We're going to actually learn a few chords. We're going to learn what chords are, and in learning these few chords we're also going to actually learn a song at the same time. So let's get straight into it. So what is a chord? A chord is just 3 or more notes played together at the same time. So now, practically speaking, sometimes you can play a chord or something that substitutes for a chord with just 2 notes, but strictly technically speaking, we want either 3 notes or more for us to call a collection of notes a chord. So we're going to learn a few chords now, just to get us started with this whole exercise of making this music that we wanted to make. So we're going to learn some very simple and very popular chords, with which we're going to learn 4 chords. And on learning these 4 chords, you're going to be able to play hundreds of thousands of songs. Literally, I'm not joking. There are so many songs that use just these 4 chords in the order we're learning them, and sometimes even if you change around the order. So this is going to give us a big head start in being able to play music that we love and enjoy. So the first chord that we're going to play is called the G chord, and this is because it's based on the G note. G is considered our foundation note for this chord, or our root note, what we call our root note. And if you remember back to when we were talking about the notes that make up the whole of Western music, G was one of them. So this is how we play the G chord. We use our index finger to play the 2nd fret on the 5th string. That's the 2nd fret on the A string. We use our middle finger to play the 3rd fret on the E string here, on the low E string, that is. That's the 6th string. Then we use our ring finger to hold down the 3rd fret on the B string, that is the 2nd string. And then we use our pinky to hold down the 3rd fret on the high E string. Now, if you look at how I'm playing this chord, it's kind of important to note that I'm not just taking my fingers and plonking them down this way, because if I'm not careful about what I'm doing with the chord, you can hear something, yes, when I play, but with these fingers, because I'm holding them flat, I'm stopping the sound, or what we say, I'm muting the sound of the strings that should be open and give this G chord a nice big resonant sound. So it should sound like this. But if I'm not careful with the way I place my fingers on the strings, I could end up with a G that sounds like this. And that's missing out on most of the body of the chord. So the lesson to be learned here is that to play chords, we should always try and place our fingers in a sort of an arched fashion on top of the frets. And that is so that we can leave space in between the fingers for the open strings to ring out and resonate the way we want to. Unless some chords, of course, we don't want that to happen. Sometimes we want to mute the strings, in which case we can flatten our fingers. But we will learn about those chords later. Right now, for most of the chords we're learning, we want the open strings to ring out nice and loud. And this is what a G chord should sound like. We will get into what exactly constitutes a chord later, which combination of notes make up these chords. That requires a little more theory, but right now we just want to get into playing. So we're just going to learn these chords, and we're going to learn about how they're made later. So once again, this is a G. That's a nice, very sweet sounding chord. Our next chord is a D chord. Just for your information, this was a G major chord that we played, and now we're going to play a D major chord. And this will be different from the next chord which we learn, we'll get to that in a minute. So the D major chord is played by hitting the open D string, along with we take your index finger and play the second fret on the G string. That is the 1, 2, 3, second fret on the third string. Then you take your ring finger and you play the third fret on the B string, that is the second string. And then you take your you take your middle finger and you play the second fret on the E string. And so that gives us these notes. If we play it one by one backwards. Okay, so now for the D chord, this is one of the chords where we don't want to play these top two strings. So with the right hand, we will just focus on hitting the D string and all the strings that fall below it. So that's what the D chord sounds like. The next chord in our list is called the A minor chord. So we learned we had D major, G major, and now we have A minor. Now there's very different qualities in these two type of chords. Generally speaking, and as a general description, the major chords sound a little more happy, the minor chords sound a little more sad or melancholic. This is not always true, but it's a generalized description. So we'll go with that for now. Let's see how to play the A minor chord. We start with the open A string. So we're not holding down any frets on the A. Then we take our index finger and we hold the first fret on the B string, that is the first fret on the second string. We take our middle finger and we hold the second fret on the D string, that is the second fret on the fourth string. Then we take our ring finger and we hold the second fret on the G string, that is the second fret on the third string. And then we remember to arch our fingers so that the index finger here lets the open E string ring out. And we block, or we don't play this low E string, and we only play from the A string downwards, and that gives us this sound. So that's the A minor sound, and you can see that it does have a different quality to the other two chords, and you might describe it as a sad versus a happy quality. So that's immediately quite obvious, hopefully. And the last chord that we want to learn now is the C major chord. So we're learning 3 major chords and 1 minor chord. So the C major chord now is again fairly simple. We place our index finger on the second string at the first fret, that is the B string first fret. We place our middle finger on the D string or the fourth string at the second fret, and we place our ring finger on the third fret of the fifth string or third fret of the A string. And again, we don't play the low E string, we play from the A string downwards. So this is our C major chord, nice, full, big sounding chord. So now we have learned these 4 chords. We've learned G major, D major, A minor, and C major. And this is enough, believe it or not, for us to play thousands upon thousands of songs. But for the purpose of today's class, we're going to examine one particular song, one that you probably are already very familiar with. It's called Knocking on Heaven's Door, originally by Bob Dylan, and somewhat recently popularized by Guns N' Roses. We're going to learn something similar to the Bob Dylan version. Yes? So let's see what that sounds like. So now what I'm going to do is, for every chord, I am going to play through the strings. I'm going to play through the chord 4 times with only downstrokes. And I'm going to try and do this in a very even rhythm within the span of one chord and going between chords. And this is really one of the most important things we can develop as musicians. That's the ability to keep a steady rhythm. So let's see what this sounds like. I'm going to play these chords in a slightly mixed up way. I will explain how we're playing them later, but let's listen to what it sounds like first. Right? So if you've listened to the song, you may have recognized that it was going on for a lot longer than it should have. That was intentional. It's because we want to get used to the feel of playing 4 strokes for every chord. Get comfortable with that. Then we can tackle the actual structure of the song, which is 2 strokes or 2 counts or 2 beats for the first 2 chords, and then 4 beats for the third chord. So the third chord is twice as long as the first 2 chords. And what were the chords I was playing? I was playing G, G major, D major, and then A minor. The second time I played G major, D major, and C major. Now this progression is the same for the entire song, for the verse, for the chorus, everything in between. So once you can play this, you've learned an entire song. So congratulations on that, and you can get started right away. But now, like I said, we'll learn a little bit more about the structure, and it's not actually 4 downstrokes, it's just 2. And so let's count now how long we're playing each one of these chords. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? As simple as that. We play G for 2 downstrokes, D for 2 downstrokes, A for 4 downstrokes, or for 4 beats. I'm calling them downstrokes because we're articulating them with downstrokes, but in reality it's for 4 beats or for 4 counts. That's the first round. 2 beats of G, 2 beats of D, 4 beats of A minor. Then the second round, we have 2 beats of G major, 2 beats of D major, and then 4 beats of C major. And this is the whole of Knocking on Heaven's Door. This is rhythmically, it's a little bit simplified because we're just getting into this and we want to get the feel of developing a strong, steady rhythm, hand and downstroke and a sense for the time. So don't worry about that. We'll learn a little bit later how to play more close to the actual thing, which may sound something like. So that was rhythmically a little bit more involved, a little more complex, and there was a couple of embellishments, some notes that we threw in, but we'll get to that later. For now, this will do for playing the entire song. Right? So that's it. Congratulations on your first song. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you stick around for the next one. If you did enjoy it, please do like and share and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next episode where we go a little bit more in depth, or where we start to go a little bit more in depth as to what makes all of this work. Thanks.